real quick on kind of my thoughts. So I have the Longbeards on the flank, and then I have the Warrior Driving Fire Flask on the other one. Then I have a unit of Iron Breakers, and I have a unit of Miners with Blasting Charges. So my idea, I'm going to slow it down for this, is I've made this unit intentionally smaller, and what I thought was I'm going to try to pull them back, and then I'm going to use the Iron Drakes to hit the side and see how it works out. So we'll see how it turns out in the game. I do have one group of Rangers, Ulthar's Rangers. I brought this to regular Rangers because Beastmen tend to have fairly low armor. Two groups of Slayer and the Grumbling Guard. And I have just regular Gyrocopters, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to bait his Harpies into coming into in front of my Rangers, because the Gyrocopters are faster and it takes a little bit of a micro, but I'm just going to keep pulling back. I also forgot I have a Runesmith and a Rune Lord, and I just have a Stonebeard. I took Stonebeard instead of the other one, King Loon, I think, because he just has a higher defense. That's the only reason I picked him. I wanted him to kind of just tie up the Beastman force. So in the back you can see there's a bunch of Hounds sneaking up on me. Two Harpies, and then he has three groups of little hit squads here. It's just Goreherds with shields, and then he has Minotaurs with shields as well. And then you can see over here there's Kazrak, One Eye, just riding dirty, and he's riding with his little posse here to Brave Shaman of Death. No doubt he saw that I was bringing Clan Ungram and decided to bring Spirit Leech. So the Fire Drakes are doing okay right there. Not really a competitive list, but they are fun to play with, and you know, I guess that's my MO. So you can see right now I'm pulling back, so I'm getting out of the line of fire, and they're just opening up. So this is kind of my idea of the plan, right? Let the Iron Bearers take everything, get a hole open, and I can start throwing into this combat and start breaking it open. However, he does have so many Hounds that he can start coming in here, so I'm having to kind of just spread my forces a little too thin, really, to focus. So I'm throwing the Slayers up into the front line to get rid of those Minotaurs, and then I'm just kind of having the micro heavy here. So it's not really working out for me here. The Iron Drakes are able to start putting some hurt on the Minotaurs who have low shield, so I thought I'd give them a try. I know they get a bad rap, and for good reason. But one good thing they are, is that they're such a easy target, I suppose, that he just keeps throwing things in there, and I am able to cycle my Slayers up into there. So let's go back here and see kind of how it's devolved. So my complete line is collapsed, and now I'm just being hit by two sides. So I have managed to kind of route his forces over here, because he's trying to pull through, so he's just starting to lose. So now I'm just taking my forces, I'm collapsing this way, and I'm going to start taking my my range units and start trying to put them in little pockets away from him. Meanwhile, my Runesmith and my Rune Lord are just really trying to put the hurt here. So I did manage to get my Iron Drakes up and away. We're going to have them set up another flame here. So they're doing okay against the Minotaurs. The problem is I just don't have anything to really protect them in the back. So now they're getting harassed. So things aren't looking good for me, but I am able just to kind of, well, I had been using my Gyrocopters just up and around, forcing him to chase me around. But it is taxing onto my my micro, which should be dealt perhaps in other places. So use the Miners with Blasting Charges, hold back the stem of these lighter units. So finally I'm able to kind of re-engage, or not re-engage, I'm able to kind of create my own little pocket here. So now I do have kind of a defensive perimeter where he's not just collapsing on me on all sides. MVP over here, the Iron Breakers just holding out because of their high defense. I think they're like the 60. We can check later. It's not terribly important. My Iron Drakes just not really doing what I hoped they do, but it is what it is. And I guess the Longbeards, or the Grumbling Guard, had chased a unit off, and I had completely forgotten about them. But they are going to get Fate of Buna. I don't think Lore of Death is the way to go against the Dwarves. I think Lore of the Wild is the way to go. You just get in there. There's a couple of spells that boost your own troops, and then the Cygor. You just get into the middle, so when everything's getting hectic, you just drop that Cygor in the middle of it. Now the Dwarf force has to deal with another additional threat. So you can see his chariots are just coming back and forth, just riding dirty. There's nothing I can do about it, because I just don't have anything to stop it. The only unit I have left that has any sort of mass is the Grumbling Guard, and it's just not fast enough to stop anything he has. So I'm collapsing there, trying to pull back, trying to figure out what's going on, and he's just picking off the weak right now. So anything that falls back, he's picking it off, which is good on him, which is what he should be doing. I decided to take his Harpies up and around for a long ride. So now, assuming I can get away, I'm going to try to come back up and through. I'm surprised I haven't lost any models yet, and then I am able to win some of the combat, but I think he sent his injured group over here. Meanwhile, back over here, I am starting to hold in a little steady. I'm going to hold down spacebar here. And I'm going to try to start focusing my Oathfire Rangers onto his chariots, because that's really the biggest threat. I can deal with the Minotaurs, I can deal with the Harpies. Things I can't deal with are chariots. So he comes back in here. I bring my gyrocopters back in here, try to get some shots off, try to pull them back up and away. So what I'm also doing is I'm trying to pull the Harpies near my Rune Lord and Rune Smith, so I can start hitting with the Wrath Rune. Rune of Wrath and Ruin. Man, that took a lot out of me right there, I'll tell you what. So now I'm just trying to create a little bit denser of a force, because his only real killing power he has left are these chariots, and he does have a group of Minotaurs that's rallying, but they have such little health, I'm just not even concerned about it. And my final stand on my two little Iron Drakes. These were not resources well. That was resources poorly spent right there. That is not what I should have been doing. So anyway, so now I'm starting to wrap up. I don't really have too much, so now I'm like, well, I can't really do too much about his chariot, so we'll just stay in one kind of dense formation. That way, if he comes in and pulls out, he's going to take a lot. And I do have charge defense against large with everything except for the miners and the rangers. So at least if they come in, I can hold steady and not take any kind of real casualties. My gyrocopters are still going around harassing. Surprised they haven't gone down here, but most of the time when people fight gyrocopter beasts, when they take a group of harpies and just chase after them. So now I'm just sending them in here, just trying to pick up anything, just kind of lower that morale. I was trying to come in here and just drop some bombs. Go ahead and speed up a little bit. Just drop some bombs, but it just wasn't able to get anything done, because as you can see, he started pulling my micro up and away, and you can just see the litter battlefield of the dead here as I push through. So this is why I'm doing this. Like I said, it's just a big dense blob, because as he comes in, he's going to hit me. He doesn't really have much that he can do. At some point he does cast a purple sun. I don't know when it is. So let's go ahead and speed up, because now it's just kind of a posturing position. So I redress my ranks as much as you can with kind of a tattered group that you have. So I'm going to leave the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass in the back there, and then I'm going to start pushing up and out. So now you can see my opponent's trying to figure out what he wants to do. And I have hit his Harpies with the Rune of Wrath and Ruin. You can see that a couple of them have been popped down here. So now he's just going to start regrouping his forces, and I'm going to start kind of come up into this engagement here. So you can see that as he comes in, I'm going to go ahead and hit stop on my forces as soon as I think he's about to engage, and that's just going to for the defense against large. So he is chasing my, let's go ahead and slow this down. He's chasing my gyrocopters once again. There's not much I can do. We'll go this way so you can kind of see it. So he's coming in here, and this is exactly why I stopped. So now his Kazarak and his Brave Shaman, his Brave Shaman are kind of stuck in here, and his Minotaur is stuck in here. So now I'm able to kind of collapse in here. Had I been moving, he would have been able to push up and right on through. Still chasing my gyrocopters up and around. Still have 3 models, amazingly. Oh, there's the Might of the Purple Sun right there. Don't know if it was the best call, but it certainly was entertaining. But it is what it is. So now I managed to push off everything. So now I think I pretty much have it in the bag. I just don't think he has enough killing power. I did send my gyrocopters over here for a little bombing run, but at this point it's kind of over. We're talking back and forth. He's like, well, I don't want to be cheesy, so I'm just going to come in here and let you get it. So it's just, at this point, it's just pretty much over. So we're going to go ahead and run the clock down and see what happens. I do think if I wanted to be competitive, drop the Iron Drakes, perhaps grab another group of Rangers, maybe some miners to absorb charges. I agree with these. The blasting charges never seem to be too good because they break up infantry formations, but infantry formations are never the problem I have with dwarves. It's always chariots. And the only thing I found that can really take them down are if you're in an open field, cannons with chevrons, and just slayers. It's kind of, those are kind of hit and miss. It's all a matter of, do you get the shot off and can you handle it? So I think his build was okay. I would have gone with some Beast of Gores just because you could have collapsed that front line. Or at least you could have had someone stand and bang, and that would allow you to keep running dirty with your chariots. So let's take a look at how our performance did. We'll start with my forces. 22 kills on the Iron Drake. A complete waste of resources, but that's alright. The Warrior Dragonfire Pass doing pretty well for me. I was surprised that they got 101 kills. Stonebeard, I should have known my opponent was going to take Lord of Death. I should have brought another Runesmith, but it is what it is. I want to have a fun little army. The Longbeards just getting dog stomped. I had, I think, 2 groups of Minotaurs just jump right on them. And the Ironbreaker's doing all right because they just kind of held long enough to get those runes out from my rune priests. So that's kind of how my forces performed. They're kind of for the most part. And then over here, my opponent looking at me. But Minotaurs, one of them doing great. The other 2 getting shut down. They must have been the ones I got the Slayers up on. The Poison Warhound's doing all right. Just being a real harass and annoyance. He wasn't able to use his Harpies to his best of abilities. And decent performance out of Kazarak and the Brave Shaman Death. So we're going to go ahead and jump into that next battle. I'll see you there. Into this next one. This one's also kind of long, but it was a very interesting battle. My opponent brought out a force I've never really seen before. So let's go over mine and my thinking. I brought a Goblin Rock Lobber. They're only 600, and my thoughts were my opponent's going to play a very defensive match, so I figured I'd just bring it just to force kind of some free shots. So over here in the woods, you can see I have a line of Savage Orcs interspersed with Black Orcs. So Savage Orc, Black Orc, Savage Orc, Black Orc, Savage Orc. And then I have some two goblin archers with the Rusty Airs. The Rusty Airs will really kind of just harass down the armor of an opponent. And then the other goblins can really get some work in. And I got 2 big uns. And then over here I have my Cav Wing, which has 2 Orc Boar big uns with my general on or Orc Boar boss on a boar. And then I have some spiders just to hold down kind of the Orc Boar prey and poison them. And then I have more hers mangy marauders. So I'm over here just picking away at the Royal Aldort Griffites. So that's going to be going back and forth. So let's go over my opponent. So he has 3 different kind of battle groups, which is interesting. I think it's Oakley that does that. But I don't know. Anyways, I don't quite remember. So he has handgunners, spears, swords, flagellants. Over here, 2 handgunners, silver bullets, spears, flagellants, swords, and then over here, once again, more guns, flagellant, spear, and sword. So I think his idea is he's going to have 3 battle groups, and he's going to go in here. So I started repositioning my battle line. He comes in at the Goblin Rock Lobber. I'm not too worried because I think he's going to lose more life than I'm going to lose with my Rock Lobber. But he did manage to kill one of them. So I'm not too worried. So now we're really just kind of skirmishing and jockeying for position. So I didn't want to come straight in here because I figured what he was going to do is he's going to have his little Task Force 1 here, Task Force 2 here. I come down the pipe and he's just going to pick me apart. So now I'm trying to position up on this wall as I start to think about what I want to do. I'm also microing over here because I just keep harassing these Royal Aldort Griffites, and I'm waiting for him to take one of his handgunners and face me over here with the more Hermangi Marauders. Meanwhile, I decide that, well, let's just hide these guys in the woods, the Goblin Rock Lobbers. Hide them in the woods, and hopefully my opponent will forget about them, and later in game I'm going to come up there, I'm going to grab them. So we're going to hit fast forward because right now it's a lot of posturing, so you kind of go over my thoughts of what I wanted to do and what I was thinking. I did bring the Goblin Goblin Shaman because I figured that he was going to bring like a Lore of Life or Lore of Light. This is pretty common for Empire players. So now that we're going through back and forth, we're kind of getting that battle line. So now I figured out what I want to do. I am running my Goblin Rock Lobber back once I noticed that he was coming for him. So now you can see that I'm just sending the orcs over here just to kind of hold down, and then I got the big ones coming in. I don't really have any good shots right now for my archers, so I'm going to have them harass over here. And backing over here, the more Hermangi Marauders still harassing the Royal Griffites. Haven't killed one yet, but I'm getting close. I'm getting there. I'll be there one day. So now the battle lines are being drawn, so I decided to go ahead and take this engagement. So most of his little task force, I think, got out of position. Since it moved up and behind him, I'm going to come in here. So I am dropping the Night Shroud, which I think is a very underutilized spell. Because as you can see, his visibility drops and his accuracy drops. So I dropped the accuracy of 4 of his groups, almost 5. So I'm sending my main force in here to engage on the front line, hit him with the Inchy Nuisance. Sending one group of Savage Orcs up and over, and now I'm going to send the big ends around and to get into the handgunners. They will get clipped, so I don't have to renegotiate. So right here you can see why I used the Spider Rider, so it pinned down his Lord. And you can see I popped the Wog, I popped the Last Stand, and his Lord is not going to want any of this. This is going to be a little curve stomping American History X style right here. Meanwhile over here, his hail of gunfire has completely routed off one group of Savage Orcs and just viciously tearing apart that group of black orcs. But I am managed to go over here. So now I'm going to start sending my Warhammer Marauders coming up and around. And I assume what he thinks is going to be a nice soft target for these archers. He's going to send them in here. So I'm going to try to send in my orc brigands to pin them down. And I'm going to have all of them coming in here. However, I do make the mistake of clumping up all my guys. I'm going to fix that in a second. The problem is you'll instruct your own shots, so your own troops can't shoot, and anytime they shoot into you, it's going to be even worse casualty. So I send my little Boar Boy beatdown squad over here on the Royal Outdoor Gryphites because I figured this is going to be a decent engagement for me. I send the Spider Riders over here because they keep tagging them and they keep slowing them down, so that's just going to help me rout him off the board. Meanwhile, over here, he did rout off one unit of Savage Orcs, but the other one has gotten kind of so in depth here, he's not going to be able to get any good shots because, as you notice, he doesn't have guard mode on, so one of them clipped so that all pull their swords out and they're going to fire. So he does have over here, my Black Orcs are not being really utilized as well as they could be this game, so I'm going to just kind of push into here and do what I can. You can see once again my beatdown squad doing what it needs to do. These Royal Outdoor Gryphites don't want to have any of this nonsense going on. So let's kind of lay out the battlefield. He has a pocket here, but wasting too many resources. And now I'm going to just start pulling all my forces through. So he's not going to be able to use his gunners if there's boars up in kind of his face there. So now I'm going to start spreading them each and every direction. I need to get my lord off of that and start spreading them this way. I send in the Warhammer Mage Marauders not because they get kills, but if they can clip these two handgunners, he's not going to be able to fight. So you can already see this one's pulling out swords, this one's pulling out swords, and this one's about to pull out swords. So let's pull back a little bit here. So now that he's focused everything in here, I took my rallying units, and they're going to come in here. So he's just kind of getting stuck into this kind of quagmire over here. He is taking his flagellants over here, starting to run, and I'm trying to get this little pocket safety. And I'm pulling my archers back up and through. And once I realize what's going on, I'm going to take these Savage Orcs and run them back over here. His general was able to get up and away, and so now that I think he's forgotten about the rock lobber, I'm going to send them back over here to try to get back on those rock lobbers. I don't really have any good spots for Itchy Nuisance because all my troops are superior, so I'm just using my Night Goblin Shaman just to hold down some handgunners and spears. And since the Goblin's crappy, they're crappy, he's going to be able to pin them down, and that's more resources than the Goblin cost. So I'm doing all right over there. As you can see, back over here with the beatdown squad, it's just kind of madness as my Boar Boy Biggins are just running up and around, just using my Orc War Boss to hold him steady. And the only thing he really has that might have been a threat with these spears, which my mistake, I did blob up here. I should have sent one there, the other one up and around. So now I got my archers turned up and around, and I see that his Royal Outdoor Gryphites are back, so I'm going to start using my little Goblins shooting squad to take down his Royal Outdoor Gryphites. I personally think he should have came up and around and try to isolate a pocket instead of letting me have 3 separate engagements. He should have made 2 engagements and heavily favored one of his engagements. So he's going to use his Lord, and basically I'm going to have a bunch of terror routes because Lord causes terror, Gryphites cause terror. So I'm just sending my Goblins in every different direction I can just to have them collapse. Over here, I managed to get my other units back. So I had my Spider Riders just picking things off, and now that I see the good little juicy target here, handgunners are going to pull up and around. He's still wasting time with my Goblin Shaman, which is not something he should be doing. And as you can see, over here, you can see that once I was able to break through, I was just able to kind of collapse all of his handgunners, even though it cost me my Boar Boys. I'll just call them Boar Boys from now on. So they're coming through. They are able to push through. This side is completely collapsing, and I'm just picking things off as we go. So over here, this is kind of the one engagement he has. But once again, I still think it was a bad choice because I'm just going to use my Biggins to kind of hold him down and just keep spreading things out. So he's really spending a large number of his resources on what are essential units that are just going to run away and rally anyways. So he doesn't see this, and this is where I have my little sneaky goblins just being sneaky in the woods here, just taking off shots, picking things off. And they are shooting into the back, so they're shooting to the back of the swordsman, and his Gryphites in general are large. I was able to collapse the last of his little forces here, and now I'm starting to collapse everything into him over here and trying to just push that army loss. Over here, he doesn't really have much, and I'm just taking my units and trying to run them off the board. I do have my Rock Lobber back online, who are just peppering. So as long as they can hit at least one unit or one model in the unit, they're going to keep routing off. And I'm taking my Lord and just keep pushing back over here. So if I can collapse these guys, then I'm going to come back over here. And I'm just using all my little arrows just to push him down. Although, like I said, I think he had the right idea. I just think he was in the wrong spot. So I'm just going to keep being an itchy nuisance and keep harassing him. And that's going to be about all she wrote. So at this point, he's just going to suffer so much from army loss that it's just going to be out. So that was a good game. I can't remember my opponent's name, but we'll see in a second. But I thought it was a pretty close match. He brought a very unusual build. So let's go over his army. I like the idea of the 3 separate groups fighting. However, I think without having a net or something to really kind of make it so he can have the engagement he wants. I don't know how well it worked, but it's very interesting. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I'm skilled enough. He had a decent performance out of the handgunners because most of his shots were against my Black Orcs. As you can see, my Black Orcs were here only with 59 kills. So that was a pretty good work there. His Griffites only killed like Goblin arrows, and his General only killed Goblin arrows. So let's look at my side. So a decent performance out of some of my Savage Orcs. You can see the one that got 34 kills. They're the one that was just gunned down the streets. A great performance out of my Orc Biggins. Mixed results out of my Black Orcs. The Goblins did all right. They're harassing, and mostly they just made him focus on the Goblins instead of where they need to focus. And then a real great job out of my Boar Boy Biggins. Just 2 chevrons, 1 chevron, maybe even almost a 4th chevron there. And then Moorherd's Mangy Marauders popping out with 91 kills. And I managed to even pull in 33 with that routed off Goblin Rock